minus 5c equals 0?
I
C. So if I'm factoring it, it kind of looks a lot like number 11 when you were setting it equal. So you'd have c times c minus 5 equals 0. And so on the quiz and on the test, I'll have people totally miss this one. They're like, how do you factor c squared minus 5c? Greatest common factor, which means c has to equal 0. That's the solution right there. That's one of my answers. The other solution is when c minus 5 equals 0, which means c equals 5. And these are the two answers. Just like when you were looking at number 11, you should have had one answer being 0 because you were taking 0 and dividing it by negative 3. And the other answer is 5 over 2. And can you write it as 2.5? Yes, you can put the decimal part of that each time when you were solving. Okay? So on your workbook, I'm not sure if there was, or from the page 571, any other questions, anything you want me to look at? I don't know if those are a workbook or if they are from the textbook. Yeah. Thinking about what they're asking you, could we already know that it's going to be 4 and 6 feet without doing the algebra for the problem? Yes. But if we are doing the algebra and if I'm asking you to write a quadratic equation and show me how you solved it and looking at our standards, this is going to be w times w plus 2 is equal to 24. You would have had w squared plus 2w minus 24 equals 0, and you would have factored w times w equals w squared. 24, oh, I have to get a plus 6 and a minus 4 when I'm doing that. And this is still equal to 0. And when I set w plus 6 equals to 0, I get negative 6. I can't have my length being negative. So I have negative 6 and 4, and it can only be 4. So 4, and then I add 2 more on to get 6. Okay? So when you look at those, that second answer isn't possible, but some of them, you definitely could do it probably in your head. We're going to take a look at doing this quiz a little later, just a practice quiz so you can take a look at. We'll look at that in just a few minutes. But on the workbook, someone said number 27 here. So same type of problem, a little harder numbers, not as easy. So if we are looking at setting up number 27 here, we want to start with length times width. So we're going to have 2x minus 8 times x is going to be equal to 234. If you have your calculator, keep those out. We're probably going to use those, right? So when I distribute on this side, because I have to distribute first, I'm going to end up with 2x squared minus 8x. And I have to have it equal to 0, so I'm going to put minus 234 equals 0. Once I have this, I notice, oh, I don't want to have a lead coefficient and do that AC. Greatest common factor is 2. If I factor out a 2, I'm left with x squared minus 4x. We're going to say 1 plus 7, you get 9. 9 is divisible by 3, which means this is divisible by 3. So on your calculator, dividing 117 by 3, we get what?
39.
So we get 39 and 3, okay? So now I have to be thinking it has to add to a negative 4. That's not going to work. But 39 is 3 times 13, and I have another 3. So can I have 13 times 9? Yeah. And if one of them is positive and one is negative, right? Because it had to multiply to a negative 117. So first you got to start dividing and picking numbers to divide by. These are the prime factors, right? We're going to use 13 and 9. 2 is out in front. X minus 13 and x plus 9 equals 0. That adds to a negative 4, right? Negative 13 plus 9 adds to negative 4. Negative 13 plus 9 multiplies to negative 117. I can't set 2 equal to 0, so x minus 13 equals 0 means x equals 13. And over here, x equals negative 9. Length can't be negative. So I'm looking at x equaling 13. And did it only ask us to find x? Yeah, that's the only thing it asked us to find. You didn't have to find the other dimension. So 13 yards. You needed to? 2 times 13 minus 8. You could have found the other answer if you were looking at that. Okay? So on page 16, the date of our quiz is going to be Monday. That is going to be the 29th. Okay. There's going to be 12 questions, and it's worth 50 points. Okay. So 9 questions, 50 points. The first 6 questions are solving, like we just did in our last lesson. Setting it equal to 0. Maybe finding x-intercepts, knowing your squares. So it's going to say use any of our methods. Okay? These are 4 points each. So a total of 24 points on that first part. So going back to the beginning, you need to be able to tell me the domain and range. That's why I was really picky on I2, telling some of you the I2 in the workbook. You need to tell me the domain and range for every single question. You didn't have to graph all of those, but you wanted to make sure you know how to tell me the domain and range. You need to tell me the location of the vertex. When we're talking about that location of our vertex, that's that negative b over 2a. And then the y coordinate of that. That is also where you had the different form of our equation, right? When we have vertex form of the equation, what is the vertex form of the equation? That's when you had y equals a times x minus h squared plus b. That you love when we give it in that form because that gives you your vertex right away. That your vertex is h. Let me just put it in a k back here. HK, right? So knowing the location, so where the vertex is, you need to tell me the equation for the axis of symmetry. The equation for the axis of symmetry has to always be x equals. What does it always equal? It equals the x coordinate of your vertex. So you want to make sure you know how to find that vertex, right? If it's either here, or if it's over here using the negative b over 2a, because x equals. And a lot of you, in your, when you did your worksheets, I don't know, you just didn't check the back and you just put down 2. Axis of symmetry, it's an equation, has to be x equals 2, it has to be x equals 4, it has to be x equals negative 3. It cannot just be a number x. So there's 2 questions there. Those 2 questions are 6 points each, and those you will be graphing. Okay? So 6 points each on there. The next standard says interpret the key features of a quadratic function. So I'm going to be asking you to compare the width. So on your homework, you did one like that. Is it normal, x squared? Is it wide? Is it narrow, right? So comparing the width, knowing if it's a maximum or minimum. What are you looking at to tell us maximum and minimum? We're looking at what? In this equation up here, we look at the a. If it's in standard form, remember you have y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. That's our quadratic. You look at the a. The a tells us if it's going up or going down. Brody, how you doing? Good? Okay. Too much fresh air during advisory? Yeah. All right. So you got to tell me, how does a affect it? How does the b? How does the c? So look back in your notes. This is in your notes. If you are looking at those are 3 points each for those 2 questions. So we have 6 points there. And then our last standard is I can create and solve a quadratic function to model real-world problems. Which ones are you looking at? So as you look at this one is going to be an area. The other one is going to be with throwing the ball. What do I mean by throwing the ball? That's when you have the equations that look like h equals negative 16t squared because of the force of gravity, right? Plus the velocity times t plus, this is usually your start point. I can't remember what they put here, if it's like h or c or something like that. And that's where you started the throwing, where it says the rocket took off or you're throwing the ball off a building. So you need to be able to know those. And you're still finding the vertex. This is your time, this is your height. There was one of the questions on either 3A or 3B, that worksheet, when you were asked to find what was the height. Well, you have to find the time first. And how do you find the time? Well, you find the time because that's your negative b divided by 2a. Okay? And then the height is how high that maximum point is. So as you are looking at those two questions, 4 points each. Questions on anything? So if you're looking at page 575, 1 to 29 all. These are the ones that are dealing with interpreting the narrowness and wideness. Okay? Labeling the axis of symmetry. When you graph these, I actually need to see like your axis of symmetry. I need to see your parabola. I need to see the vertex is located here. So when you graph those equations, that's what I'm looking for. On the test, it will be very, or on the quiz, I'm very specific. I will even tell you, tell me the axis of symmetry, x equals whatever number, and put a dotted line there. I tell you that right on the quiz. So some of these are super easy because they don't have a middle term, right? But when you have that middle term in your factor, you're trying to graph this, this is when you use that negative b over 2a, right? So your vertex, you got to find out first, negative b over 2a as you are looking, and then the y, and then this is where you make the table. And you put the vertex right in the middle, okay? Looking at solutions, the most common mistake, people will forget the positive and negative. They'll put x bar equals 16, x equals 4. They don't remember the positive and negative. It's a 4-point question, you just lost 2 points, right? So make sure when you are solving these, right, if you're asked to find a solution, remember, x squared can never be negative. So as you're going through the problems, so the question on, we are going through number 21 through 29 here. So through 29. These last ones, giving examples of ones that look at that, describing how they differ, giving your reasoning, writing one. Here's a construction one that some of you got to draw the picture and think about what you're doing. What is the area? So they tell you the area, and we're trying to find the missing sides. So take a look as you're using your time. Here's the other thing is I have the final review packet, and I wasn't going to hand it out at this point, but